Is the Democratic National Committee trying to oust David Hogg? A DNC subcommittee on Monday recommended a redo of the vote that put Hogg in his top spot as National Vice Chair. The Credentials Committee passed a resolution declaring Hogg's election in February incomplete due to violations of the party's charter. The same rules would apply to the election of Pennsylvania state legislator Malcolm Kenyatta, who secured the vice chair position alongside Hogg earlier this year.
The motion comes in response to a challenge brought by Kaylin Free, a committee person from Oklahoma, who unsuccessfully ran against Hogg and Kenyatta in the February race. Free alleges that the DNC used procedures that give male candidates an advantage over female candidates. The move will not be official unless the entire DNC votes in approval. Semaphore reporter David Weigel posted a statement from Hogg, which reads in part, "It is, quote, impossible to ignore the broader context of my work to reform the party, which loomed large over this vote. The DNC has pledged to remove me, and this vote provided an avenue to fast-track that effort." Kenyatta also responded, "First, yes, I disagree with the ruling, but ultimately the committee voted, and I respect their votes, even when I really disagree. Second, the press has been breathless in the coverage covering the main character they've chosen, David Hogg. They are rushing to do it again. I call BS." It's giving "Stop the Steal" to me. No, the Democratic Party is... No, I'm actually defending David Hogg here. No, he is being... and you know I'm no huge fan. He is being ousted. The Democratic Party, the party with the word democracy in its title, is using anti-democratic BS to get this feisty whippersnapper who's a troublemaker out of their way. Am I wrong?
I don't know if you're wrong, because I tried to research this as deeply as I could, and I was working my way through the complaint about this procedural vote, and I honestly couldn't make head or tail of it. I'm just not sure. I guess it's a vote, or there's some bylaw in the DNC that is supposed, I think, to allot a certain number of offices to women and
once they finish doing the land acknowledgements, then they do that part. Yeah.
Robby, a bit of a sneer there. I'm trying to be serious about the DNC's bylaws. But look, I mean, Hogg, I think, I take Malcolm Kenyatta's point. You know, a lot of this is focused on Hogg when it does affect both of them. But it is certainly true that he has made enemies at the DNC's level with this 20 million plan to support potential primary opponents to incumbents, and it's completely within the bounds of possibility to me that he's been treated unfairly. I am no huge defender of the DNC. I mean, stretching back at least to 2016, you and I have spoken before about the fact that they very clearly put a thumb on the scales to thwart Bernie Sanders and to boost Hillary Clinton. One could make certainly arguments about Biden's re-election. So I'm sympathetic to Hogg and Kenyatta's position.
Yeah, I'm becoming more and more sympathetic to David Hogg by the day. He said some wise words, I thought, on Bill Maher's show over the weekend that you and I discussed yesterday, that actually got like a standing ovation from Bill Maher, who's you know, no fan of crazy young lefties, but David Hogg portrayed his agenda in a positive way for the Bill Maher type voter. That's a good sign. You know, I've always been skeptical of him because I never saw evidence necessarily that he really had some grand political strategy or some track record of giving good advice to help win elections. You know, he became a national celebrity because of his proximity to a horrific tragedy, and that's fine. That happens sometimes. But you know, where's the savvy political analysis? You know, his fight with James Carville, who maybe you could argue is a little bit old-fashioned or out of date, but did, you know, rack up electoral wins back in the 90s. But they actually settled their beef, and now it just seems more like the establishment moving against some up-and-coming person, the way they denied AOC the oversight committee to give it to someone who was dying of cancer. It's really remarkable how the leadership of this party keeps just going back to the same circle the wagons around older, more established people. Well, if that's what's going on here.
I mean, I think to pick up on one of the points you raised there, the fact, not only with Carville, but in general, it seemed, I thought, that Hogg and the DNC were trying to come to some sort of compromise until this happened, which does seem to be a kind of Empire Strikes Back kind of thing toward him.
Ooh,
now,
Star Wars reference.
I know, very rare for me. Don't, I'm not going to stretch it to Game of Thrones or whatever other show, or Dungeons and Dragons, which is your other big passion. And I do, though, share your skepticism to a degree of what the overarching strategy from Hogg is. I think I basically like him more than you do, and I'm certainly respectful of the arguments he makes. But when he was talking about the challenges, he seemed to suggest that it was partly driven purely by age, but then he was like, well, these particular old people I kind of like. So, Pelosi I like and things like that. So it wasn't completely crystal clear what his actual stance is or was. But if this is some attempt to sideline him unfairly, then obviously I'm against that.
Well, we shall see. That does it for us today on Rising. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to like, to share, and to subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere you listen to podcasts. I'll be on with Linda Tran tomorrow, and Niall will be back for the rest of the week. We'll see you later.